All right, good morning and welcome to another edition of the External Bum Show. Excuse me, I'm Ralph Williams, along with Scott Morganroth, Leo Haggerty, and Jeremy Ballrich is part of my co-host for the show. We're here every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And don't forget coming up on November 9th, Saturday, November 9th, will be the Ralph Williams Show, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then we come to this show, the External Bum Show, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then from 2 to 3 p.m., you get a triple dose of Ralph on Saturday, starting November 9th. It'll be 2 to 3 p.m., 1250 a.m., 92.5 FM, The Answer. Sports Quarter Radio Show with me, Ralph Williams, Smoke, and Jim Frazier, Claudia Rosano, and Luther Dupree. All right, guys, welcome to the program this morning. We'll start off with an introduction. Start with you, Scott.
Well, hello, Ralph Scott Morganroth, obviously, South Florida Tribune publisher and the author of this book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. Pretty much summarize the whole thing as old school media versus new school media. You want to reach me on Twitter at Tribune South Gets It Done. You want to go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, Gets It Done. And if you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, then feel free to do so at South Florida Tribune. Just hit the subscribe button, and there you go. Then you have Jeremy, Ralph, and Leo, obviously, comes on from time to time. I love having them on that Thursday show. So, there you go. That's a lot of different ways to do it, and I'm looking forward to writing the second half of this, for which everybody's on this set will probably be involved in some way, shape, or form, but I'm going to be working on that toward the end of the year. First of the year, I have to deal with some medical issues that I have to get squared away first. At least get treatment going for them, but I feel really good. That's good to be back.
All right. Well, it's good to hear, Scott. It's great to have you back today. Jeremy Ballrich, how are you this morning? And tell us a little bit about what's going on, and we'll get started with you as well.
Well, as you heard, I write for Scott's publication called South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune heading, where I write about the NFL and the Detroit Lions. You all can also find me here every Saturday morning with you, Ralph, but I also do shows with the South Florida Tribune on Wednesday and Thursday, the Motor City Mad Mouth and Fire Up. Then you got my channel where I'm live every day because I'm a guest somewhere and I stream it to my channel anyway. So
smart man.
All right, Leo Haggerty, welcome to the show, Leo. This morning, tell us your information and good morning to you.
Well, we're Amped Up Sports on YouTube, Twitter. We're all over the place, and we're just happy to be all over the place after suffering through two hurricanes, Helene and Milton. Some of our people have just got their power back as of yesterday. So they've gone at least 6, 7, 8 days without power. So we're a little behind the times in posting. I hope to be caught up with everything by Monday. But great to be on with you guys, the three hardest working people in sports media.
You're good peeps, Leo.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Leo. I appreciate that as well. I'm Ralph Williams. I have my own production company, RW Media Productions. I also have a YouTube channel. Check it out, Ralph Williams at RW Media. I also have one radio show, which I do every Saturday, 2 to 3 p.m. It's called It's called Sports Corner Radio Show every Saturday, 2 to 3 p.m., 1250 a.m., 92.5 FM, The Answer. If you're not in the Pittsburgh area, check it out on their website, and also on you can check it out on iHeartRadio as well, because they're on iHeartRadio, The Answer, at 1250 a.m. I want to thank the management for letting me do my radio show there. And coming November 9th, as I mentioned earlier, and I'll mention again, is my new show, The Ralph Williams Show, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm going to change the landscape of talk radio in Pittsburgh area. All right. We're going to get into our bum segment coming up, but first we got to pay a few bills here. Mata Heating and Air Conditioning is our studio sponsor, 724-2010-500. Call Mata today, Mata Heating and Air Conditioning. All right. Guys, let's get started with our bum segment, which, of course, is brought to you in part by, as it is every week, by Scott's book, and that is Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. I want to say I've had a eye situation this week, but today I'm feeling a little bit better. As you see, I'm wearing my regular glasses, not the green glasses. So it's working out pretty good for me this week. I had to cancel from Jeremy's show on Wednesday because of my eyes, but I got myself straightened out and we're all set to roll. Let's get started with our bum segment. Jeremy, we'll start with you first today.
My bum is Ohio State University's football coach, Ryan Day. In a close game with no timeouts and 6 seconds on the clock, you run the ball and they come up short, so you lose the game. You have a $20 million NIL roster there at Ohio State, and you couldn't even beat a team with their first time ever being in the Big Ten, which we all said, oh, they probably will all lose when they face the powerhouses. Don't get ahead of yourself, Ryan Day.
Leo Haggerty.
Well, guys, get comfortable because this could take a while. My bum is the University of Georgia and the SEC. And here's why. Did anybody see what Kirby Smart did on the sideline last week when he pushed the Mississippi State quarterback who had just run out of bounds? I said, whoa. No, it wasn't Woody Hayes, but it was darn close. Oh. The fact that it's being brushed under the rug by Georgia, by the SEC, because Kirby came on afterwards and said, I really didn't know I did that. And I called and apologized. Hey, no, I'm sorry. The SEC, we know it's the best conference in the country. That's because the prerequisite for getting in is having a pulse, not an education. It's an embarrassment to the SEC. It's an embarrassment to Georgia to allow that type of behavior to go on unpunished. It's an embarrassment. Georgia, SEC, how about growing a pair and doing something about that? I'm done.
All right. Scott Morganroth.
Well, my bum goes in the world of baseball. What about Cleveland Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase? This guy here, my goodness, the best closers in all of baseball. But the Detroit Tigers roughed him up for a game, and the New York Yankees are having a feeding frenzy off of Clase, who can't close. So, I still predicted the Yankees to beat the Guardians in 5 anyways. But it just goes to show you, folks, that when you're closing in the regular season, then you get on the big stage, it's a much different animal. And then when you go out there and face the Yankees, who probably don't have many weak spots in that lineup, okay, Class A has lost his ability to close in the postseason. And the Guardians, I think, will be done in 5. I'm very comfortable with the pick. And if they aren't, it doesn't matter. The Guardians will join the Indians. They won't be existing in the playoffs anymore.
All right. It could be a Subway Series. We'll talk about that later on the show here this morning. We have a lot to talk about. I have 2 bums today. Mine is Florida State. I cannot possibly believe how Florida State has stunk the joint up so bad that it's just unbelievable. That game last night against Duke, I got to give it to Manny Diaz, who's the coach there at Duke, for putting together and keeping what Mike Elko started and getting that program moving forward. Florida State has gone backwards this year, and with Mike Norvell, who I think is a good coach. It's just I feel bad for him because he's in a program that expects big-time excellency and is not getting anything. So the Florida State Seminoles are my bum today, the football team for them. All right. Let's get started with our topics today. The first one is we're going to talk about dome stadiums all across the country.
Hey, Ralph, where's your second one? Where's your second?
My second one? Yeah, my second one's the Cleveland Browns. With this Deshaun Watson thing, Jameson Winston, I heard can't find his way out of the paper bag. And they got all kinds of problems there in the Browns. And then get this now. In 2028, they want to get away from the mistake on the lake, the second mistake on the lake, and move into a dome facility that they're planning on building somewhere in the outskirts of Cleveland. And now everybody's copycatting them, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. That's one of our topics today, dome stadiums. And now everybody's copycatting the Cleveland Browns because they're doing it in 2028. But how in the world do you justify building a dome for a team who has never won anything, and they're not going to win anything again this year because, and they're my bums as well. The Deshaun Watson thing, Jameson Winston, they got to get a quarterback. That's the bottom line. They have to get a quarterback, and they don't have one. Kevin Stefanski, I think, is on eggshells. He should be fired in the next few months or seasons, if not after this season, if this continues with the Cleveland Browns. That's my second.
Hey, Ralph, I'm about to anoint you as a bum. You know why?
Why?
I'll tell you exactly why. You're a diehard Pittsburgh guy, and you're saying that Pittsburgh needs to get a quarterback. You know, one of my biggest things, I know you haven't seen me in a couple of weeks, but if I can't get 2 reallys and 2 seriously's on a show, then I feel like I'm underachieved. Don't worry about if they get a quarterback, because then you got more good things to say about the Steelers. Don't worry, really, seriously. But you know what? I like you too much. I won't call you a bum, but think about it, okay? But think about it, Ralph. Who cares? It don't matter. They don't have a quarterback. Guess what? Pittsburgh have a chance to get in the playoffs, and Cleveland, well, whatever.
Yeah, Cleveland will continue to be the Cleveland Browns.
But I won't anoint you my second bum. But think about it for future shows. How the hell can you be rooting for the Cleveland Browns to get? And Kevin Stefanski's in a really tough situation. He really is. He's done as well as any coach can do there, and whatever. It is what it is.
Okay, Michael M says, "What's up? What's up to you, Michael? Thank you for tuning into the program. At least Lambeau won't ever get a dome." There you go.
Well,
all
true.
right.
That may be true, and that may be how fans feel. But if they ever want a Super Bowl played in Green Bay, they'll get a dome.
That's
true, Jeremy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeremy, you'll appreciate this. I sat down with a former Detroit Lions head football coach who was there when Barry Sanders was there. You probably know who I'm talking about.
Wayne Fontes, right?
No, head coach. Let's go even harder.
Yeah,
Wayne Fontes was the head coach.
Yeah, he was the head coach.
Career.
I didn't sit down with him. I sat down with the next one.
Oh, Bobby Ross?
Yeah.
He never got to coach Barry. Barry retired before he started. He's the reason he retired.
Well, no. As a matter of fact, I think he did coach him, Jeremy, 1 year.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to play for Ross.
But I talked to Bobby and I said, you got a dome now. Do you practice outside when you're getting ready to play outside teams? He looked me dead in the eye and said, I leave it up to the players. I just tell them, I don't care where we practice. I just want a good practice. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, Jeremy, right. I was covering the team at the time, and I think he played 1 year under Ross, and that's what. Well, check it out, Jeremy. I'm just telling you, I lived it. That's all I can tell you.
I know. I just know that he's a big reason why.
Well, that's a different topic for another time. I can tell you the inside stuff there. I'm with you. You're not wrong there. I'm just telling you, he played for Ross 1 year. That's all I'm saying. But you're right about the other half of that.
All right, guys. This segment's brought to you by the Original Hometown Pizza, 412-264-4444, the Original Hometown Pizza, University Boulevard, Moon Township. Call them today, eat in, take out, or pick up. Hey, if you're heading to a car cruise, pick up a pizza. If you're heading to a game, pick up a pizza. If you're done with a game or a car cruise and you're hungry, stop by, sit down, and have a pizza. The Original Hometown Pizza, Moon Township, University Boulevard, 412-264-4444. Call them today, and you will mention my name, get a discount on your order. Okay, guys, we're going to talk about domed stadiums. As I mentioned earlier, Cleveland Browns are looking at getting a domed stadium. Cincinnati, the county there has approved a plan to build a domed stadium for them as well, for the Bengals. All right, now let's talk. We'll go around the panel here. What's your thoughts on dome stadiums? Because they can be used for all kinds of multi-purpose ideas. But I just hope that anyone that gets a dome stadium, please don't do like Minnesota did and get one of them blow-up things and then end up having to keep canceling games because the roof collapses or whatever. And Leo, I want to say I'm sorry to hear about the Tampa Bay Rays and their roof blowing over down there at Tropicana Field, which I believe is not going to be their home for too long. They're moving to where? St. Pete, am I correct on that?
They're staying there, yeah. And I'll tell you what, here's the scary part. Stu has been wanting to move this team out of St. Pete to Nashville or anywhere. And here's what's scary. Now he's got an excuse. If he just drags his feet on fixing Tropicana Field, and come another 2 or 3 months says, hey, they're not going to have this field ready for the season. We're going to move them this year to fill in the blank because they'll never come back. That's what's scary, is that now Stu Sternberg will have an excuse to move the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, I'll just keep going on your dome thing while you got me here. Baseball, yes.
Okay.
Because there's 81 home games. You're guaranteed of having 81 of them. And believe me, down here, you can't play without a dome. Jeremy, you know that down in Miami. And Scott, you know the same thing.
Right.
The weather is just so unpredictable. I mean, I've been at the Trop where it is just thunder, lightning, torrential rain. You wouldn't play for that day or the next day, but you're able to play. Now, football, that's a maybe. Here's why. The elements are part of the football game. Yeah, it's nice on the fans. It's nice on everything else. But it's not going to affect playing the game unless you're dealing with lightning. That's the only thing. And that's the only problem we have up here in September. After that, we're fine. So again, baseball, yes, domes are essential. Football, not so much.
All right, Scott Morganroth, Dome
You know,
Stadium.
Leo, it's amazing some of the things I learned from you, especially in an area that I graduated in. Okay, USF. But here's the deal. Okay, I have zero problem with the Browns moving into a dome stadium. Remember, I lived at the Pontiac Silverdome for a lot of
Right.
years, and then of course I've been to Ford Field a few times, but I lived there. I love going there. You know, I was perfectly comfortable in my press box seat, covering the Lions. You know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, whatever. But the reason that they're doing it is so they can attract more big time events. That's why they're doing it. If there's a Final Four and a Super Bowl to be had, look at how much money Vegas made there when they ended up getting the Raiders and putting them in a dome stadium. So the financial impact is what it is. Don't get me wrong. I've covered games in outdoor stadiums where it's cold as you know what.
Yes.
I have, but I've been inside, so it doesn't matter. But I wasn't outside though when I was getting ready for post game afterwards. It was cold. In fact, I'll tell you an interesting story. I was over at Soldier Field near Christmas time. I wore my hiking boots, okay, and I had 4 pairs of socks right by Lake Michigan, and it was cold. But I have no problem. I think it's become a sign of the time. Now, the Bengals one caught me off guard. I didn't know they're thinking about replacing that stadium, which is relatively new in the first place. Okay, and now you're going to replace it with a dome there. Give me a break. How much money does Cincinnati have? That one throws me off a little bit. In the case of the Browns, I've covered basketball at the Richfield Coliseum over in Richfield, Ohio. It's like 15, 20, 25 minutes away. So if they end up moving it to this other location, so what? At least they have the NFL there. They don't care. I mean, but it's all a money grab anyways. These
Right.
dome stadiums are there to get bigger events. Keep in mind, though, you only have 8 events, 9 games, maybe 11 with football. So you better find ways to fill it up. When the
Right.
Pontiac Silverdome had the Lions, they had the Pistons before, like Leo said. The roof caved in, and they ended up. Mr. Davidson built the Palace of Auburn Hills. So I've seen football, Leo, on both ends, and I have zero problem with what the Browns are doing. They're keeping them in Cleveland. The product. That's another story. I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole, but I'm fine to it. Keep them in the area.
Oh yeah, Jeremy.
Well, that's all fine and dandy until you get to those blistering cold months of the Midwest, here in upper Midwest and in the middle Midwest, even in Kansas City. Look at that game when Miami had, where you had, what was it, 25 people lose extremities due to
Yes.
frostbite
To the
and frost
cold,
burn.
Right.
So it is about protecting the fans as well as the players. And it's about the events they can make outside of football. Because guess what? When it's still blustery cold in February and you're sitting on your duff because football's over, they can host a concert. They can host Supercross. They can host Monster Jam. And so it's extra revenue that the Big Shield can't touch. That's why Buffalo's building a dome. That's why Jacksonville's building a dome. That's why Cincinnati and Cleveland's building a dome. And that's why the if they are able to get moved and out of that contract in Chicago, they're going to go to Arlington Heights and have a dome. Everybody is talking about doing it because they want the big event. They'll get their Super Bowl. They'll get their draft.
The NFL draft, right? Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Hey,
and
hey, guys, before we go on, let me jump in on this. The biggest problem they're having right now is getting people to vote for this dome because owners are expecting, okay, we're going to build you a dome. Those days are over.
over. Yeah,
That's not going to happen anymore. They're going to have to put their own money in some way, shape, or form.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'll tell you what, if NFL owners would look at what Jerry Jones did, he built Jerry's World with his own money. But guess what? He's getting all the revenue now. Duh. Easy fix.
Well, you know what? If you're going there, okay, number one, is Buffalo building a dome? I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Buffalo's been talking about it for 2 years. The city finally approved it. It's supposed to be done within 5.
Okay, I didn't know that. So it's new information to me. Okay, but bear in mind, the Milwaukee Brewers built Miller Park because they couldn't afford to lose games. So they were guaranteed to get one there. And here's another one, Leo. Let's take a little bit of time in history. What about Joe Robbie way back in the day when he built that stadium out of I worked with Joe Robbie with the Dolphins a couple of years and worked with Don Shula. Boy, you talk about a first coach to work with. Shula intimidate the day, but I got used to him. He got used to me being a young buck. But I'll never forget, Joe Robbie said, I'm going to die in debt anyway. I'm going to build it. And he got sick and tired of the Orange Bowl and called it a museum, and he built it. Now, obviously, Stephen Ross has done a fantastic job keeping it up and investing his own money. But you're right. A lot of these owners are going to have to start ponying up some cash because not all these jurisdictions and cities can't afford to do it because they're concerned about education. So I'm with you there. I mean, you know, some of these things that we're finding, but Milwaukee had to. I'm surprised Minnesota, the Twins didn't build one. That one shocked me. They were in the Metrodome, but they wanted to go outdoors, and that could bite them. But what Jeremy said is right. Okay, outside of a few events, what are you going to do? You're going to let the place go stale for 300 days a year? No, I mean, you know, and again, the NFL's touching the revenue, right? But what about outside of the fact? And that's the one thing that people don't get, but they'll find out soon enough.
That money goes to pay for the contract that you got with the city that helped you build it.
Exactly.
And any outside event, that's pure profit for that owner.
And you could put taxes on the tickets, guys, also for this stuff and really get extra money with some taxes. So the community benefits from having a dome stadium and a dome facility, which they can use year round. They can have all kinds of events, as we've mentioned here on the show this morning and whatnot. And I have no issues with that, but I don't see one in Pittsburgh anytime soon because, you know, so the Rooneys are so cheap, they'll squeeze a penny and Lincoln's head will come out.
Well,
So,
let me make another interesting point. I'm sorry, Leo. Okay. But Pontiac blew it with the Lions. The Lions were looking to stay in Pontiac, and they had built their fan base, and they were trying to get greedy with what they wanted to do. And the Lions said, you know what? We'll partner up with the Tigers to make Detroit relevant. And we all know about the Silverdome, what happened. Oh, that was
And you know what, guys? I think what really needs to be considered is what they do in Houston and what they do with the Rangers, the retractable domes. That way you can move. I was in Houston when they put that roof on. It takes 12 minutes, literally, from the time they say, okay, we're going to put the dome back on to the time it gets on. It's unbelievable. The fact that they could do a retractable dome is a great idea because now if the weather's good, you take it back. If not, you still don't lose any games. And guys, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It gives you an event venue 365 days a year.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, you're going to go there. Let's just say that the Diamondbacks, I was over at Chase Field many years ago. I lived in Phoenix, and they did pretty well. But the biggest pony here is the Miami Marlins, okay? Number one, the only thing wrong with that stadium is the area that it's built in. But that's, but that's a beautiful stadium. It really is. I love working out of that stadium. It's unbelievable. Problem is, if you've ever driven on I-95 in Miami, Jeremy, you don't have no hair, right? But if you had any, it would be pretty great. Faster driving down I-95 to get to forget that. That's just I'm talking about north on the Coconut here, not this stuff.
I don't want it there.
I don't blame you. But the Miami Marlins are a prototypical example. That's a great stadium to work on. It's just in a bad neighborhood, but the retractable way is the way to go.
Oh yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
The first team with the retractable dome was the Cardinals, right?
Cardinals?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
In fact, they roll the field outside when they're not playing it. In fact, that was the biggest problem with the Super Bowl out there is they overwatered it when it got back in, and it was an ice skating rink.
Yeah, actually, I toured that stadium with my wife when we were there a few years ago and took in a Coyotes game over at Gila River Arena. And I laughed at the Coyotes. You mean to tell me you couldn't make that stadium work, even though they wanted it? So, but that's for another story, but still. And now, the Coyotes are now in Utah. But yeah, there's, and Vegas took the same model from Arizona by wheeling that thing. But it's a pretty cool place if you look at it.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's move on. We're going to go into some NFL news here coming up. And Patty says good morning. And also, Patty here has another comment. It says the Diamondbacks can't close their dome now with people in it because of the safe reason. They just had its only rain out earlier this year because of it. All right, so there we are. Patty, thank you for being part of the show today with your comments as well. Always thank you for being here. All right, our next segment about the NFL, and we're going to talk about some trades. Farmers Insurance with Robin Campbell, 412-366-3399. Robin Campbell Insurance, call him today. All types of insurance. Let me say this. I live in an apartment building. We just had a fire here. Unfortunately for me, I have renter's insurance, but there are a lot of you out there that don't. So go out and get it. It's not that expensive, and get it because you will benefit from it. Do not believe your landlord when your landlord tells you that you're covered, and then you end up having a fire, and then you're stuck calling the Red Cross. Okay? So please get yourself some renter's insurance if you live in an apartment complex or any house or anything that you rent. It's about $15 to $20 a month, not even that in some cases. All right? It's based on your coverage. But call Robin today, 412-366-3399. Robin Campbell Insurance. I have been doing with Robin for 15 years. All right, guys, let's talk about Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams trades this week or so. Those have been the big splash trades in the NFL. Your thoughts on it? We'll start with you, Jeremy.
Well, Amari Cooper to the Bills was the surprise one because we just heard that they were going to let Amari Cooper get a trade, and he immediately went to the Bills. And I think that was a great move on his part. But I do have an interesting NFL stat factoid about Mr. Amari Cooper. Since 2015, there are about 4 wide receivers active in the league. He leads them all in drops with 202 more than the next guy in his career. And everybody raves about how good his hands is. Guess who has the most drops this season in the NFL? Mr. Amari Cooper. So while he does run great routes, he gets open well, he doesn't always catch the ball. And I think it's because he doesn't have the speed he had when he was younger, and guys are able to catch up and contest it better. But I hope his route running is going to help Josh Allen be better, because I thought they needed an O-lineman, but it is what it is. They did need wide receiver help too.
All right. It's good to hear that that Buffalo has Amari Dropper. So, all right, Leo Haggerty.
Well, I'm not surprised with the Devontae Adams move. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has been lobbying that for 2 years, and the Raiders saw that they were going nowhere. Let's try to get something for him, and that's a good move. I tell you what, we've all sat here and complained about Deshaun Watson as the quarterback, but he's had no running game. His offensive line is less than average, and he's got receivers that drop the football. Cleveland's finally going to get Nick Chubb back. That'll be an interesting component now to what's going on in Cleveland. But Buffalo figured out that maybe we missed Diggs more than we thought we would. We need to get somebody who'll at least stretch the defense, blow the top off that defense. And there's one thing you can't coach, guys. It's size. And you know what the other thing is? Speed. And Amari Cooper brings speed. That's the key. He's going to stretch that defense. He's going to give Josh Allen another viable target on offense.
All right, and also don't forget too, Leo and guys, their offensive coordinator's Ken Dorsey. So we all know where Ken Dorsey came from. All right, Scott Morganroth, your thoughts on these trades?
Well, like I say, Davante Adams is the worst kept secret on the planet. They're talking about whether or not he was actually healthy the last 1 or 2 weeks anyways. I know he was, but they just wanted to make sure that in their mind, okay, that they kept him healthy so that they could trade the guy is what they were. So, yeah, I wish that Davante Adams would have been able to play for Robert Saleh, who I think got a raw deal in Cleveland in the first place. And now you have this interim guy on there, but we'll see. Yeah, it is the worst kept secret on the planet. As for Amari Cooper, okay, you know, Jeremy notated that he's a dropaholic. Okay, well, probably, but he's going to have a much better quarterback in Buffalo as well, and a much more stable environment there. So he has a chance to be a bona fide number one over there. And yeah, there's no question in my mind that Buffalo realizes that with Stephon Diggs, he was the true number one, but you can't dwell on those past moves. You have to focus on going out there and deal with the ones you have. And I just think for Amari Cooper, knowing he's going to Buffalo, okay, and Buffalo is overachieving as far as I'm concerned this year. I didn't know what to expect out of them after the Diggs trade, but give Amari Cooper a fresh start, knowing that he's going to be in a winning environment. I can't solve the drop problem. Some of the best wide receivers in the NFL ran themselves out of the league, okay, because they couldn't hold on to the football. But, you know, I'm anxious to see how it works out in Buffalo with Cooper for sure, and Allen.
Yeah, down in Carolina, Deontay Dropson, we used to call him here, Johnson, has had some 300-yard games because of Andy Dalton throwing him the ball, and he's not dropping the ball as much. And I think, and I agree with you, Scott, sometimes a change of atmosphere, change of team, change of system can work for a guy like Amari Cooper, and I hope it does. Davante Adams, on the other hand, he's up there with Coach Rodgers up in the Jets, and we get to see them this Sunday night coming up on Sunday Night Football. So we actually get both New York teams. We have the Giants, too, the following week on Monday Night Football. Patty says that the Jets need to trade for offensive line help, not only wide receiver, in my opinion. Yes, absolutely, Patty. You know, in the trenches is very important. I've said this many times. Line of scrimmage on both ends. If you don't control them, you're going to lose. So it's that simple. All right, guys. We'll get back to the NFL shortly about some other things.
Well, Ralph, Jeremy had a point, so I'm curious to see what Jeremy has to say. So
Okay,
go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers to Davante Adams. How good did that work out the last year for the 2022? Yeah, 2022 Packers. Well, let's see. He became tunnel vision because Davante Adams is a target magnet. And all teams had to do was bracket him and cover him with the safety over the top and the corner underneath and render him ineffective, and they wouldn't be able to score because Rodgers has that tunnel vision. Now imagine having tunnel vision with a bad O-line.
Yeah, but everybody's been talking about how bad their offensive line has been the last couple of years, and something we haven't heard before. Bear in mind that Rodgers is 2-4 in 6 games, and Zach Wilson was 3-3. Take that stat and figure out what it is. So now all of a sudden we're anointing Zach Wilson as a bad quarterback, right? And listen, I'm not going to judge a bowl game in the Boca Raton Bowl when they slammed Central Florida badly to judge Zach Wilson's career. But how did Darnold do when he left New York, right? He's not doing so bad now, is he?
Minnesota, yes, absolutely.
Right. He wasn't even that bad in Carolina either. Bad deal there. Bad deal there. So, you know, let's face the reality. Now Zach Wilson doesn't look so darn bad, does he? I mean, all of a sudden, because if no other reason, let's just take numbers here, okay? 2-4 for Rodgers. Oh, I thought we were getting an upgrade. At least Robert Saleh thought we were. Zach Wilson 3-3. Seriously? Really? There we go. I got those 2 words in. You know, so that's a bunch of crock. I really do. I mean, the offensive line has been the worst kept secret. For some reason or another, Woody Johnson must have had something against Robert Saleh. I don't know what it was for a guy, because I'll throw another number at you. I don't remember the last time that an interim coach took a team to the playoffs. So really, what did that accomplish unless he just simply wanted to get rid of Saleh?
Well, Bruce Arians, when he was coaching with the Indianapolis Colts, he was kind of an interim coach because of Chuck Pagano had some health problems.
Right.
He took them to the playoffs and almost to the Super Bowl, if I remember correctly, with the Colts. So that can happen. It just depends,
But you said the key word though, Ralph, almost. But how did it
Almost.
work out for Arians later? Got a job with Arizona,
Tampa,
did well,
yes,
and won a
in
Super Bowl
Arizona,
in Tampa, right,
Yes.
Leo? I mean, he was in our
Absolutely.
neck of the woods. He won. So it didn't work out. But that interim job propelled him to get jobs elsewhere.
Elsewhere.
Where do you think that this interim guy with the Jets is going to get if he doesn't get hired? I don't think he's
Who
going to
knows?
go in it. Yeah, right, exactly. Body
Who knows?
language says it all, right, Leo? Okay,
Bye-bye.
Hey, Antonio Pierce became an interim coach, and now he's with the Raiders. But I mean,
well, big deal. If you're going to go there, the biggest mistake the Raiders ever made was when they didn't put Rich Bisaccia as your head coach.
yes,
That was a
absolutely.
big catastrophic mistake. Seriously, really? All right, got my quote in.
No, he's a good special teams coach, and then
Yeah,
when
but he was a good head coach, Ralph. Wait a minute.
Yes, he is.
Wait.
Yes.
I mean, come
He's
on. What Kool-Aid is Mark Davis drinking? He had his head coach in the damn building, and it was Rich Bisaccia. Seriously, really?
I know. Mark Davis isn't doing any better than his father. So But anyway,
That was Super Bowl.
yeah, exactly. All right, guys, let's move on to Major League Baseball. We have we're coming up on the tail stretch here, getting ready for the World Series real soon. Here we got two teams fighting amongst each other for that matchup here. This segment's brought to you by Keystone Coach Works, 412-833-1900, Route 88, Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. Stop by Keystone Coach Works. Ask for Dawn. Tell Dawn Ralph Williams sent you. I tell you what, this is a great place to get a low mileage van at a good cost. If you are handicapped and you needed a van, I bought my van here at Keystone Coach Works, and I love my van. It has Dawn will show you around. Has some great selections and on the property there. So call him today, 412-833-1900. Keystone Coach Works. Major League Baseball, the Yankees and the Guardians and the Mets and the LA Dodgers. Okay, I have egg on my face because I thought the Dodgers were going to choke again like they have in the past, but they've moved on. So I have egg on my face for saying that I thought the Dodgers were going to do the same thing again. It could be another Dodger-Yankee series, or the Guardians could play catch up and end up in the World Series as well. Guys, let's break this down. Your thoughts on this series on both ends. Scott, we'll start with you.
Well, number one, you're not going to see the Guardians get past. I think they've won their one game.
Correct.
Okay, everybody wants to see the Yankees and the Dodgers. They all do. Just like I was intrigued to see the Yankees and the Royals because we brought back old-time baseball back in the day when there was no big market versus small market, and you got a few good series out of it. So as far as the Mets, I haven't seen one game decided under 4 runs in this whole series anyways. I haven't. So the reality of the situation is all right, well, the Mets get to finish the season in LA. All right, no problem. Okay. Let's face the reality though. Pete Alonso came up big yesterday to give him another game. I mean, I watched that game. It was unbelievable. The energy that you had in the building, Alonso and the Mets were playing desperate baseball, and it showed on the field. So, the Dodgers and the Yankees is what everybody wants to see. And if I had to really say I was pulling for a team one way or the other, I'm kind of pulling a little bit more toward the Yankees anyways. I love the Dodgers because my first big interview in that book was Tom Lasorda. But for some reason or another, I want to see Aaron Boone get off the schneid. He's done a good job. He brought my buddy Brad Office in as a bench coach over there, Juan Soto and Giancarlo. So there's really not an easy place to go ahead and pitch. I have a few Marlins in there in the race too. I saw Giancarlo standing down here, but I hope that Chaz Chisholm and John Birdie get an opportunity to win rings over there. Although I shouldn't only say Miguel Rojas could win one for the Dodgers, but I think everybody wants to see the Dodgers and the Yankees. And I have a feeling, if you go Subway Series, it's all New York. But if you go the Dodgers and the Yankees,
I
you
wouldn't
got New
mind
York
seeing
and
that,
LA.
Scott, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I wouldn't mind seeing a Subway Series. That would be interesting.
Yeah, but the Mets have been a good story this year. They
Yes,
really
they
have.
have.
There's a team that
They
started
really
out
have.
poorly, and they've obviously gotten better. Their manager seems to be doing a much better job as he got familiar with the team. So more power. Right now, all four teams in there are very good stories. I think that Fox is going to make out like a bandit with whatever matchup you have, although the Guardians are done. Yeah, I think that's all there is to it.
All right, it's good to see the Yankees back in the playoffs after a few years of being out. Mata Heating and Air Conditioning is our studio sponsor. Call them today, 724-2010-500. Look, winter's coming. Wow. And it is. And it's going to come in like a lion and go out like a lion. So you need to get your furnace fixed, UV lighting. Please keep the burglars away by getting some good UV lighting for your home. Call Mata as well for that. And they also do snow melt for the winter, 724-201-0500. Mata Heating and Air Conditioning. All right, Leo Haggerty, your thoughts on this baseball series?
Well, you know what's happening, guys, and I don't think people are realizing the team that gets the lead is winning. You look at everything that's happening. Yeah, the other one comes back, but the team that scores first has won. That's why it was so important last night for the Mets to get out of that second and third no outs in the first inning, and for Alonso to put that crooked number 3 up on the board, because all four teams are great front runners. When they get the lead, they put their pedal to the metal and they go. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Mets win Game 6. Now, Game 7, that's a tough order. But again, what the Mets have done is they found a way to get the lead. And being the visiting team, we saw that last year with the Phillies, with Arizona. That's an advantage in Game 6 and 7 because you get to bat first. And that's big. The Guardians, Scott, I may have to agree with you. I think we may have to stick a fork in them. But they may win Game 5, but I don't see them winning 2 back in Yankee Stadium.
Well, Leo, let me add a couple things to what you're saying. First of all, as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Dodgers are going to a bullpen day on Sunday anyways, and there's no way that I thought that the Guardians could use that bullpen stuff against the Yankees who have bona fide pitchers. So you can't get away with it with the Yankees. Detroit, you're able to do it because they only have one starter, and that was Terrence Skubal. So how you put your lineup together versus the Yankees like the Guardians, you can't get away with that there. Or at least I don't think you can. But I think the Dodgers are going to a bullpen day. If that's the case, Leo, all that does is literally bolster what you're talking about. And then you have a Game 7, and you can rest assured what the ratings will be like for that one. I hope I left something left for my buddy Jeremy to say. Sorry, brother.
Jeremy, your thoughts on this series so far?
Well, we all know the Yankees are winning it. I mean, there's nothing the Guardians can do. They can get their lead. They can do whatever they want. But Class A, who was the best regular season closer, has been used way too much, and you can see he's out of gas. He's still hitting the fastball, but where is it going? I watched him throw 4 straight pitches to a guy that was one of their worst batters on the team and walk him. So when you're doing stuff like that, that makes it very, very hard to get through.
Well, you know what, Jeremy? What you just said, you know who that Class A situation reminds me of? Is Aroldis Chapman when the Cubs used every ounce of energy to get that World Series. Hey, you're leaving, but we're going to get as much. We don't care if you go 2-3 innings. We're going to get that World Series title. So what you're seeing, Jeremy, with Class A is what happened with Aroldis Chapman, and I don't think his career has been the same after he left the Cubs. I mean, the Yankees try to get productivity out of the guy and whatever he had left. And now I don't hear a whole lot about him, but that's what's happened with Class A. You know, you don't go from the best closer in baseball to using him that much, and then you go up against a buzzsaw like the Yankees. No way. I don't think so.
Oh,
good morning,
absolutely.
Broski Bear.
What's that?
In the chat, he said, "Good morning, Jeremy." So instead of having you put it up, I said, "Good morning, Broski Bear."
Okay.
All right, let's see here what Patty has to say here. She says, we already did that one. All right, and there he is, Broski Bear. Good morning, Jeremy. Good morning, Broski Bear. It's good to have you on board with the comment section as well. Okay, guys, we're getting ready to go into our local segment here, and our local segment is going to be if I can see the graphic here. Oh, there we go. Brought to you in part by Fold & Travel Mobility. Get yourself a folding power wheelchair. Look, don't sit at home because you can't go to events because you need a folding power chair like a county fair or something like that, or a concert in an outdoor facility, and you can't afford to go get a wheelchair accessible van. Well, get the next best thing, and that's a folding power wheelchair from Fold & Travel Mobility. 1-877-GOT-FOLD. That's 1-877-GOT-FOLD, or foldandtravelmobility.com. Professionals, been around for over 20 years. Get on a chat line with them today. Get yourself a folding power wheelchair. All my handicapped brethren there as well. Brosky Bear says, hi, Ralph. Hello, Brosky Bear. Great to have you on board here with the show today. All right, guys, we're going to go into our local segment here. We'll start with you today, Scott, your local segment.
So the Miami Dolphins are talking about bringing Tua back in the next few weeks. Really? Yeah. Good luck. Okay. If they bring him back now, of course, they know the medical record better. Well, then you're jeopardizing a guy's career for good. But the best Miami quarterback in Miami, okay, is not Tua Tagovailoa. It's Cam Ward. And
Right.
You'll see him today against the Louisville Cardinals. I've watched Cam Ward all season long. Of course, I get him against Florida State next week when my Canes are back home. So I love Cam Ward. Whoever gets a crack at him, they'll be better providing you provide him with an offensive line and a few targets. But bring Tua back prematurely, the Dolphins are going to have bigger problems than they are now. And, here's a team year in and year out. They have high expectations early this year. They could even win in September. It only gets worse later in the year for this team. So good luck, Dolphins. If you think that Tua is going to come back, if he does, I hope and pray for the young man that he does not get banged up again. Otherwise, it's going to be ugly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The Miami Dolphins need him, but I don't know how he's going to play or perform based on the fact he's had all these concussions. We'll see where he goes from there, Scott. I agree with you on that.
We'll turn over to Jeremy. He had his hand up. Go ahead. What do you want to say, bro?
All right, Jeremy, you're next.
Well, no, I was going to respond to the Tua thing because he actually did what he was supposed to do. He went outside the state, outside the city, and everything else, and went to two separate top neurologists that the NFL had given him a list on who he could see, and he got the clearance from them that as long as he can pass concussion protocols, he can return. And that's the key to him returning. Let's not forget, he has to pass two tests. He has to pass the team doctor's test, and then he has to pass the NFL doctor's test now. It's not like it used to be where you just get a concussion, go to concussion protocol, and come back.
Well, I'm not implying that. I'm not implying that. All he has to do is get hit one more time, and all of a sudden you can take those protocols, and NFL team, and flush him down the toilet, Jeremy.
And it was his decision to be made, and he made the decision he wants to return, so they're waiting.
Okay. Well, I mean, everybody has the right to do what they want to do. He's being paid by the Dolphins, and they definitely need him. You're not going anywhere with Skylar Thompson and Huntley.
Tyler Huntley.
And whoever was bagging groceries in a grocery store, that kind of thing.
Well, there's Kurt Warner's ready to walk in there.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah, there you go. All right, Jeremy, you're next. You're local.
Oh, my local is, thank goodness that we dodged the bullet with the Aiden Hutchins injury, because all it was the broken bones. There was no muscle damage, no tendon damage, no ligament damage, no nerve damage. It wasn't an Alex Smith type of injury like everyone thought it was off of the visual. And so his team doctor from Michigan that was there when he broke the other leg, which was a much worse situation, said Aiden Hutchinson is one of those rare breeds that heals faster than most people. So there is an outside shot. It's a 55% chance he could be back for the playoffs. And I understand. I personally want him to sit out and wait till next year. But at 55%, that possibility is a realistic thing. 55% is not 10%. It's not 20%. It's not 30%. We're talking more than 50% chance he'll be ready by week 18.
Well, you know what? Let me just tell you this. You ready for this, guys? Okay. I went to the Super Bowl when New England took on Philadelphia and Jacksonville, and everybody had Terrell Owens written off for that comeback. And man, I'll tell you, this guy worked his tail off to get ready for the Super Bowl. He really did. And he ended up making it back. And that was a heck of a game, too. So, so I hope for Aiden Hutchinson's sake, he'll make the right call. I know they will. Right now, the Lions still have a little time to make that decision. We'll just see who they're going to bring in at some point. But you're right. I mean, I'll take Aiden Hutchinson at 55% than most of these guys at 90 to 100%.
All right, Christopher Cole's checking in. Great to have you on board, Christopher, who's a steady watcher of the sports web. And when I'm on with Peter Blake on Wednesday nights at 10:30 for the wrestling segment there called Turnbuckle Talk, Broski Bear. I'm going to put his up here in a second here as soon as I can get there. We go. They just want you to play. And then also Broski Bear says that, yeah, that's good news for Hutch's sake. And then on top here, he also said the Dolphins have so for letting Tua play again. However, that's what happens when you pay someone 4 years, $212.4 million. They don't care. They just want you to pay. Dumb decision by Tua too. Well, we'll see what happens with that saga as we go along here. And it said if it's a Super Bowl, that will be interesting. Says
Right. I mean, I'm just saying it is interesting. And you're right. We don't know what the Lions are going to do this week because, well, yeah, we do. Thursday came, 4 p.m. went by. No one was traded for. So therefore, they're not on the roster. We signed a practice squad guy in that 7th round, 223rd pick by the Browns in 2019. Coincidentally, is the pick that we gave for David Blau. So it's a full circle moment for this defensive end, Isaiah Thomas. And I understand everybody says, "Ooh, they signed a basketball player." There are 2,289 Isaiah Thomases in the United States.
World, yeah.
Seriously, really?
Well, that's like I used to joke around about Amon Bradshaw. I used to say that's Terry Bradshaw's son or something like that. I used to joke around about that.
Well, Jeremy, the Isaiah Thomas that you're talking about is spelled differently than the Pistons icon. They have the one that was actually this other young guy that played with the Celtics and all that. So they have different ways. I think his name is closer to the other one, not the Isaiah that I got to work with the bad boys. I didn't know they had that many, though.
No, but I mean, people were picking on us for signing a basketball player. Is what I was getting at.
No kidding.
Well, I know a team who drafted a professional wrestler, which isn't true, but the same name, Xavier Woods. He's a professional wrestler for the WWE. So, when he got drafted, everybody said, "Oh, they drafted a professional wrestler." So I know what
Chicago Bears did. They drafted a guy named Brock Lesnar back in the day. And go back even further. Atlanta had Bill Goldberg.
Well, here, you want to take that route, Jeremy. I remember years ago, Ron Pritchard played as well in the other wrestling thing that was held over at Olympia Stadium. I don't know if you remember that one.
Group, right?
Huh?
Hey, guys, I'm going to go back even further. How about Ernie Ladd?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we stumbled into a wrestling segment that's pretty funny.
Absolutely. Went in blindly, didn't we?
I'm not sure of his real name, but we have a guy in professional wrestling WWE named Baron Corbin, played offensive line for the Jets. He actually got some money from a concussion settlement that the NFL players had when they had that lawsuit for concussions. And now he's one of the richest wrestlers, and he banks his money very well. And he's been complimented for that. Okay, Brent has finally come into the.
Well, here, Ralph, let me make one point about Jeremy. How long did Brock Lesnar stay once he found out that football was a tougher sport than wrestling, and you have to deal with these guys game in and game out? That was a short cup of coffee.
Lesnar broke his leg in practice.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, he never got a chance to see the field, and then he went into wrestling after.
Yeah, he went back to wrestling. Well, first he was in wrestling. He left. He went to the Minnesota Vikings for a little while, and then he didn't even make it past training camp. They cut him.
I didn't know the additional info that you're talking about, Jeremy. All I know it's a cup of coffee, no matter how you slice it.
Right.
Oh yeah. There's been several.
Bill Goldberg wasn't that good of a football player, which is why he went to wrestling.
Wrestling. Yes, absolutely. All
Don't
right,
forget
guys.
Steve Mongo. Go back even further. We got Steve Mongo McMichael.
McMichael. Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
really?
Part of the Four Horsemen, which
Yep.
was one of the great factions in wrestling. All right, we're simulcast also. I forgot to mention on Kneecap Biting Network as well today for this morning's show. Leo, you're local. We didn't get to you yet on your local.
Well, I'll do it quick because we're getting up against the clock. I understand. We got a double dip football this weekend. We got USF at 3:30. They're taking on, let me think. This is a hard one. UAB. Trent Dilfer back in Tampa.
Yeah,
And
I
then
saw
Monday
that.
night, the Baltimore Ravens show up to
Right.
play Tampa Bay. But guys, I'll tell you what. Here's what I'm really excited about. The Tampa Bay Lightning, guys, they're back. And they're back with a vengeance. Vasilevsky's looking good in net. And Kucherov is phenomenal. Team is 3-0 out of the gate. Had to deal with canceling their home opener with the Hurricane. And I'll tell you what, they're fun to watch.
All right. My local is this week. The big talk is Russell Wilson's going to start a quarterback Sunday night against the Jets. Justin Fields said in a statement that he has to do better. He had a good 4-2 run. He used his legs a lot for touchdowns. I have no problem. Justin Fields did what he had to do as a quarterback to get some wins. We're going to find out where Russell Wilson goes with this Steeler team. They said they're going to open up the playbook this time, so we're going to find out what happens. We have some banged up people. Najee Harris has a rib injury, but he's going to play. And there's a few other guys that are banged up with Mike Tomlin calls, game banged up injuries. They're game oriented, but they're not serious. So anyway, and besides that, the Penguins, they kind of stunk up the joint against Carolina last night. We're going to find out where the Penguins go this year with their team. Evgeny Malkin's talking about leaving to go to Russia and play like Jaromir Jagr or with Jaromir Jagr. We're going to find out what happens when he steps away. Letang wants out. He wants to go to Montreal. He wants to be up in Canada with his family. So we're going to find out what goes on with this Penguin team as we move along here. Hockey season is upon us. All right, real quick, guys.
Hey, Ralph, you got to talk about the Pitt Panthers. Come on, they're undefeated.
Yeah, they are undefeated. You're right, Leo. But yeah, they are undefeated. And they play next week against Syracuse, who's not doing too bad this year, believe it or not. They lost one game with their new coach as well. They're doing a little bit better, and Pitt is officially bowl eligible. So I mean, so we'll see what goes on from there. I think Pitt is going to beat Syracuse. I don't see Syracuse being that good, although they are 5-1. All right, Tuttle starting for Michigan today, says Brent. Thank you, Brent, for the information.
Yes. According to that, what I just read 2 days ago, he was announced as the starter ahead of the Indiana game.
Oh, was he? Hey, Leo, are you coming down for the USF FAU game?
I am not. I was planning on it, but I'll tell you what, guys, we're still in a little bit of disarray up here. My daughter's house got flooded, so I can't tell you I am or I'm not, but right now I'm probably leaning not to come down. I'm sorry.
Well, tell Peter Blake on record here that if he wants somebody to be a correspondent to him, I would advise him to get that clipboard over you today. I might make myself available on November 1st if he parts with the clipboard, because like I told you, I've gone out there and taken it to some pretty good place. And Jeremy knows when you got sentimental things, you like to keep them, right, Jeremy? Right?
Yes, sir.
There
All
we
right,
go.
real quick, guys. 2 real big college games this weekend. I want your thoughts on it real fast before we go. Alabama versus Tennessee and Georgia versus Texas. Start with you, Scott.
Gosh, you know what? I've got to go Texas. I don't know why.
I
think
Steve
Texas is playing awfully good.
Really good.
And they'd like to send a statement to the rest of the SEC that, you know what? We're good. Okay. We're the best of what the Big 12 had to offer. Okay. So I'm going to go Texas. So what was the other game, Ralph?
The other game is Alabama and Tennessee. That's going to be a dogfight.
Where's the game being played?
In Tennessee.
You know what? I don't know why. I think that I'm going to go Tennessee. I think that Alabama gets snake bitten again twice in Tennessee. They lost to Nashville, and they're going to lose to the Volunteers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Leo, your thoughts on those games on these 2 games?
Jeremy, I agree with you on both of them, and it's the worst case scenario for the SEC because guess what? It takes Georgia and Alabama out of that final 12 with 2 losses. Georgia and Alabama have to win both. They're must wins, but I'll tell you what, Texas is the real deal, and I don't want to play in Rocky Top on a Saturday night when the game is on the line. I'm taking Texas. I'm taking the Volunteers.
And don't forget, there's only over 100,000 people at Neyland Stadium, right?
And probably 40,000 drunks in the parking lot, too.
Exactly.
All right. One other thing I wanted to add real quick before we go to Jeremy. Pitt Panthers just hired Alan Green as their new athletic director, and guess where he comes from? Tennessee. So it's great to have Alan Green as part of our.
Well, he'll know that football is king and what to do to get it there.
Absolutely. We have a new chancellor here who fired Heather Lyke, said that she wasn't doing good with the NIL, which of course is true. I have explained on prior shows about what Pitt had to do to get their NIL back or moving where it needs to go. Jeremy, you're up.
All right. I got Texas winning in a blowout. I'm sorry. I just think they're a much better team. Georgia doesn't look the same. They played some nail biters against some okay
And they've
teams,
had some dogfights, yes.
but they haven't played a team like Texas yet.
Right.
I'm saying 42-21 type of score.
Okay,
I think
great.
they're going to dog walk them. Now, on the Tennessee and Alabama thing, with it being in Tennessee, it's going to be a dog fight. And I think Tennessee will come out on top because they're at home and those fans are rabid for that team to be good again.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for being part of the show this morning. As always, the External Bum is here every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch platforms. And don't forget this afternoon, 2 to 3 p.m. This afternoon, and every Saturday, 2 to 3 p.m., the Sports Corner Radio Show, 1250 a.m., 92.5, The Answer. Ralph Williams, Smoking Jim Frazier, Claudia Rosano, and Luther Dupree. And don't forget, coming up real soon here, November 9th, Saturday, 8, right before this show. Then we go into this one, and then later on we do the Sports Corner show as well. Let me get into some comments real quick before we dash out of here. Let's see. Michael M. says, hockey, even isn't a real sport. It's barely boxing on ice. And then Roski Bears, what do you guys think of Nebraska and Indiana? I think somebody said something about that. And Brent says, LOL on to that as well. All right, guys, thank you for being part of the show as always. And everybody, have yourselves a great day. Jeremy, what do you always say?
Try every day to be a better person than you were the day before. That's the only way to make the world a better place. It starts right here.
All right. Thank you very much. Everyone have yourselves a great day. Thank you. And be safe. Please be safe.
Take care, guys. See you next Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.